Lord of the Mysteries. Chapter 655. Dream Analysis. Klein was alarmed. He instinctively turned his body to the side without exposing his back to Leomaster, who was trembling in horror in the storage room. He couldn't be certain that the prisoner wearing a short linen robe wasn't problematic. At this moment, the deep redness in the black-armored knight who had the same face as Leomaster brightened drastically. He raised up the gloomy broadsword in his hands. Bam! With a step forward, he cleaved forward at a speed that Klein couldn't capture with his naked eyes. At the same time, Klein, who was standing to the side of him, subconsciously raised the sea god's scepter and made the blue gems at its tip light up simultaneously. Whoosh! A corporeal hurricane appeared out of thin air as it swirled around Klein, protecting him within the eye of the hurricane. Whoosh! The black streams of light carved its way over as layer after layer of the strong winds dissipated, scattering in every direction, causing the entire hall to tremble. Boom! Under the black broadsword, the hurricane produced an explosive boom and was reduced to a surging wave that flooded the entire region. It lifted up all the junk into the air. The intense collision clearly shook the dream as Klein felt his mind go adrift. He couldn't help but roll twice. Plop! He fell from his bed to the floor, the fall causing him to open his eyes. That Saint of Darkness is really powerful. Or should I say that I've never used the sea god's scepter in the real world, so I'm unable to replicate its full might in the dream. Wait! It's still night. Klein suddenly noticed a problem. At that moment, the midday sunlight wasn't beaming in from the windows. His awakening was due to the intense struggle in the dream, not due to a natural occurrence. That also meant that he needed to sleep immediately, otherwise he might very well disappear in the dark night, never to be found again. With that thought flashing in his mind, Klein pushed his right hand to the ground, flipping his body up as he flew towards his bed and laid himself down. Then, he imagined the stacked spherical lights and quickly entered his dream. During this process, Klein swept his gaze to the window and vaguely saw the dark night outside. It was quiet and serene without any sense of sinisterness. Meanwhile, he vaguely felt that there was a fog encompassing the surface of the sea relatively far away. Amidst the fog, there was a cathedral composed of rather ancient architecture. It was completely black in color. There wasn't a bell tower, and at the top of it were pitch-black ravens spiraling around it as though they were consecrating or lamenting over something. This cathedral has many buildings around it. There are ordinary two-story residences and simple wooden huts. There are bread shops with hanging signboards and grayish-white mills using water wheels for power. Pedestrians pass through the main streets and alleys with their figures flitting about, impossible to know of their actual situations. A mirage? The source of the danger at night? All the people who disappeared had lost their minds and went somewhere? Klein woke up from his dreams because he subconsciously considered the questions that he had accumulated. Following that, he forcefully made himself concentrate. He retrieved the sea god's scepter from the spirit world's unique zone. He remembered that he was in an intense battle with the Saint of Darkness just before he left the dream. The slightly dim golden light shone into Klein's eyes as everything immediately turned bright. What he could see was no longer the tall knight dressed in black full-bodied armor, nor was it Leomaster, who was dressed in a short linen robe. Instead, he was facing a floor-to-ceiling window that faced the setting sun. The window was very clean and revealed an indescribable sense of purity under the sun's illumination. By the side of the window were tables with their original wooden colors and black high-backed chairs. Further away were rows of bookshelves with all kinds of books placed on them. A library? A book repository? Every time I enter this dream world, I'll be placed randomly in a certain area? Klein carefully observed his surroundings and confirmed that it was temporarily safe without the so-called Saint of Darkness or strange, evil creatures. He held the sea god's scepter and first came to the floor-to-ceiling window and looked at the environment outside. The first thing that he saw was the opulent buildings that covered the opposite mountain peak. The huge palaces, magnificent steeples, and the towering city walls that all appeared frozen in the sunset. It was a visual spectacle. Even though it wasn't his first time seeing it, Klein still held his breath, quietly admiring this miraculous scenery for a few seconds. He then moved his gaze away towards the cliff. He saw the high walls of the black cloister and the withered trees beside the boulders. But as they were blocked, it was impossible to confirm whether Katla remained in her original spot. Indeed, within a certain radius, it's not possible to leave this region. I'm deep inside the black cloister? Klein retracted his gaze in thought as he walked to the bookshelves. He temporarily didn't have the time to consider what happened between the Saint of Darkness and Leo Master in his previous dream. This was because he needed to determine his current situation. When he arrived by the bookshelves, Klein discovered that the books placed on them had their own names. They weren't blurry and indistinct like ordinary dreams. The Spirituality of Life, Book of Charms, The Flower Within the Heart, The True Cosmos and Inner Universe. These are all books on mysticism. Klein carefully reached out and took out the Book of Charms. He quickly flipped through it and realized that he knew most of the content, but there was a small portion which he had never come into contact with. It can be confirmed that this isn't from my dream. Ma'am Hermits? The knowledge that pursues her and is injected into her has been conjured in this black cloister? Klein had no desire to explore beyond where he was. He held the Book of Charms and returned to the side of the floor-to-ceiling window. He found a spot to sit down and began reading in a serious manner with the sunset's glow. You can still study even in dreams. As he lampooned, he took out a pen and paper as he wrote and drew. While he was engrossed in this, the light suddenly bloomed as blinding whiteness blanketed his vision. Klein naturally opened his eyes and felt warmth from the sunlight that shone inwards. I just read a few pages and plan to speed read it before using dream divination to recall them. Klein sat up, frustrated. He felt like he had lost a good opportunity to study. This was because he couldn't determine if he would be randomly placed in the Black Cloister's library again. He straightened his hair, wore his cap, and went to the deck. As he observed his surroundings, he recalled the dream. That prison is likely inside the Black Cloister as well. Yes, it might be underground. In other words, the Saint of Darkness and Leo Master are in a ruin nearby. It's no wonder that Will Septon told me not to attempt exploring the dream. These places are really filled with danger. Why would the Saint of Darkness and Leo Master look identical? That dream was a little strange. Also, that full-body mirror was very magical and sinister. It actually managed to clone a German sparrow. Upon recalling this, Klein began to find examples from his past experiences to confirm his through processes by comparison. This was called relying on experience. Soon, he thought of something. He had once borrowed the mental terror candle in Backlund and helped Father Utravsky eliminate the past him, a character that was dissociated from his original self. Could it be that Leo Master is the Saint of Darkness from the Aurora Order? Due to certain reasons, he had split his personality, separating his good and evil sides. That sealed and dark prison is the reflection of his inner dream? Yes, that full-bodied mirror. Leo Master had said that if it were destroyed, he would vanish as well. When I looked into the mirror, the German sparrow inside it did form a corporeal body. It was evil. It's no wonder I felt like a sage after I eliminated the German sparrow in the mirror. It's because I got rid of my evil and sinister thoughts in my mind. Yes, that full-body mirror must be in the form of a mirror in the real world. These waters clearly have the beyonder remains of a visionary. It conjures many unreal and real monsters that can kill. And this belongs to the spectator pathway. Therefore, being able to split good from evil and causing dissociated personalities does make logical sense. Saint of Darkness Leo Master is a high-ranking member of the Aurora Order. He must originally be very evil, but that ruin or item stirred up his inverse side, which is the good hidden deep in his heart. It caused a split personality, hence, he is trapped somewhere nearby. Klein felt that he had roughly understood the truth to the matter and felt a little regret. Unfortunately, I'm unable to enter the same spot a second time. Otherwise, with the Sea God Scepter and Leo Master's good side, there's a high chance of defeating his evil side, the Saint of Darkness. and the damage dealt in the dream world would continue on in the real world. In that case, a good saint who understands the Aurora Order would be born. It will make it easier to strike down on this cultist organization. Klein silently sighed and turned halfway around and watched Anderson Hood walk out of the cabin. Where did you go in the dream? I didn't actually find you, the strongest hunter asked as though they were best buds. Klein secretly frowned as he asked, Why should I be seen by you? Anderson was taken aback. Shouldn't you return to the spot where you left the dream upon returning there again? There are other elements involved in my random appearance in other spots within a particular radius? Something to do with my uniqueness? Klein realized that the problem was more complex than he had imagined. He said with some deliberation, I went elsewhere after entering the dream. Strange. Anderson frowned as though he was very puzzled. Without waiting for Klein to speak, he thought before speaking again. There's another strange incident. What? Klein asked cooperatively. Anderson surveyed his surroundings. Back when I was pretending to make a canoe in the hall last time, I heard the sounds of a door opening and of footsteps that came out from deep inside. But when I looked up, I found nothing. I originally thought that it was someone from the ship, but later it didn't seem like the case.